Okay, we just have our final member, I think, coming in, Sarah. Oh, Andrea's not here yet. So we'll wait for Sarah to start.
Looking for the link.
You got here just in time. We're about ready to start. And so let me start out by saying welcome to everybody. Good to have you here. We're now recording. And we'll put that up on the website in case you miss anyone misses any weeks like that. And I will get into kind of personal introductions in a little bit. I just wanted to go over a little bit about the format of the course, just to kind of get things a little bit of housekeeping. Okay, here's Andrea coming in. A little bit of housekeeping as we go. This I see as kind of a graduate seminar without the grades. So that's the nice part. There's no grades, but I don't presuppose any technical knowledge from anybody. And so we're good, from the beginning. So we're not going to get very complicated during this. But if you do have some, I know Hugh, for example, has some tech knowledge that he will be able to share with other people as we go along. And there's a couple, I think Sarah also has some, but I'll let you guys introduce each other. But during our online sessions here, I would say that we're equals, and I don't want to talk a lot. I'm going to talk too much this week, but I want to reduce that. And I want you to interact with each other because we all have things to learn from each other. But that doesn't mean that you have to speak. If you want to stay quiet and listen, that's fine as well. And take from this course what you want. I'm going to throw a lot of stuff at you, too much stuff. Don't get overwhelmed. You can ignore the stuff that's not interesting to you, and just take in as much as you want to or are able to. The content is flexible. We'll talk later at the end of this course, at the end of this hour, a little bit about how rearranging and topics, and there's been a lot of changes in technology with things like ChatGPT, and so we might want to rearrange the course. So we'll talk about that at the end of the hour. There is a framework to this course. It's called FILM, F-I-L-M, and we'll use that as a kind of a very loose framework to work with. I'll explain film a little bit later. I regularly post on a blog, which is called edgeofcall.net. And again, I'll give you the link to that so that so that during the week, if you want to get some extra information, you can go there. And I'm going to give you a tool today to be able to access that more easily. The online discussion forums at ITDI, Carrie was looking for that earlier, couldn't find it. It's hard to find, and the threading doesn't work very well. So it's kind of wonky right now. They just upgraded recently, and so apologies for that, and we'll try to work around that as much as possible. If you have a new topic that you want to talk about, anybody is free to create a new thread, a new discussion forum, so that on a different topic, so you don't have to pile into one each week. So we'll let's see, 1 hour a week here on face-to-face is not really enough. And some weeks I might stay around a little bit extra if you have some extra questions about technical matters. This week, for example, I'm going to introduce a new software. If you have problems setting that up, then maybe stay on a little bit extra. But normally we'll finish up at after 1 hour. Let's see. So this course is focused on the horizon, what's coming at us as call users and language teachers. And our orbit is kind of ed tech. I'm going to share the screen here and real quick. And let's see, I think you can see that here. Our call is at the bottom right. And basically we're going to draw from just classroom teaching or pedagogy, and then closer in language teaching and ed tech. And we'll pull all of those ideas from those different fields and use them to look at the future. So it won't be completely call. It might contain elements of these other things as well. You will have some autonomy to choose different subtopics. Each week, I would like to give you some kind of task to do because I believe in active learning. So you usually have some kind of reading or video or input, some kind of task, and then we have discussion here online. So that'll be your thing for the week. Any questions about that? Okay, it's all pretty straightforward. I would like to now ask you to each introduce yourself briefly. We don't have a lot of time, 1 or 2 minutes at the most, but I would like you to kind of try to think about 3 different areas. And the first area is the most close to you, is like, what kind of tools do you use right now for language teaching? Is there anything that you use a lot? Don't worry about the future and what you're interested in. We'll talk about what you want and what you need later. I just would like where you are right now with your tools. And then on the second level, the systems, something like, are you a part of a school? Are you teaching by yourself? What kind of support or training do you get? Are there any restrictions on use of call in your thing? So that's second level of systems. And the third level is social and how your teaching fits into society or whatever. For example, what is the student-teacher relationship? You know, are you the same age? Are you older? Do you have more power? Things like that. And what is the relationship of your school to your city or country or whatever like that? So those 3 different levels. I know that's a lot to think about, but if you can just kind of a little bit, we have your introductions online in the forum. Most of you have posted that already, and so we've got that. So you can kind of supplement that with any kind of new knowledge. Anybody want to go first? Should I? Yeah, go ahead, Sarah. You're muted.
Okay. In terms of tools, I like, I'm just going according to what you said. So in terms of
Right.
tools, I use like quizzing tools like Quizlet, quizzes. And then I also use, I just have, I know a lot of tools.
Oh, sorry. We lost Sarah. Or I lost Sarah anyway.
Yes, she looks frozen to me.
Yes. Oh,
Oh,
there she's
back.
back.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, we
Okay.
lost you for a little bit there.
Yeah, okay.
After the quiz tools,
Okay, I also use Padlet, which is like a collaborative tool. Because
Okay.
you can do a lot of skills there. You can have the students speak. You can personalize it. You can have the students add pictures of themselves and trips. And when they work in groups.
do you
Yeah.
use an LMS or anything like that?
Well, Office, we have an LMS, but I just do it in class. And I
Okay.
just use the different links. That's what I do. I don't really use the LMS. And also I use Google Forms as like exit tickets and for reflection and metacognitive skills. So those are the main tools that I use. I find that if you keep switching tools on the students, it makes them a little bit crazy. You know, like
Right.
it's better to have 2 or 3 really good things that work. They learn it. And that's what I use all the time. And I have, you know, a certain procedure when I use them and what I do with them. In terms of systems, I recently retired, but all my teaching experience, I have a new job now, which I'll get into in a minute. But I basically, I worked in university.
Mhm.
And right now, I have a new job where we sell online courses, primarily to universities in South America. So now I'm more involved on the training side in terms of training new teachers. I do want to say that it's the strangest thing. This company is 30 years old, but like when I just started 5 months ago, and they told me like I can't talk about ed tech tools.
Go.
because it's the weird, it's like really weird. It's like outside of the platform, and then they're a little threatened that the students will go out of the platform and then not use their platform. But this is hopefully, you know, and I came with all this like knowledge, and I really, you know, that's what I thought my job was. So it's quite interesting. But I think that they know they need to make a transition, and I'm hoping that you know, we'll make some progress on this. And in terms of social, you just said like student-teacher relationships. I have changed over the past few years the way I teach. And I really have gone from being, you know, teacher-oriented, thinking from the way I look at teaching, and I've changed it totally to student-oriented. And I'm always saying to myself, what's going on in the student's brain? And I made it like we're learning together. And I want
Right.
to see their brains moving, and I want to see them, if I'm talking too much, forget it. And
Right.
it was really, it's like a transformational kind of experience.
Well,
I played for 2 years.
it sounds like you've moved from face to face to more online. And so let's see, if I remember correctly, you're in Israel.
Right.
And
Also
so
Penny's
being
in
online
Israel, yeah.
doesn't matter as much, correct?
No, but what I did is I also taught face to face, and I used the same kind of,
Okay.
it didn't really make a difference for me that it was
Okay.
face to face or online.
Good to
From
know.
my experience.
Great.
That's it, I'm
Great.
done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who's next?
Okay, I'll go next.
Okay, Penny, go ahead.
Israelis tend to be rather assertive, so the two of us. Tools I use, Zoom, obviously, a lot. And for talking to teachers, I'm mainly into teacher training these days. As I said in my post on the forum, my main experience is in state schools, public schools. So I've been doing a lot of teacher training on Zoom. Other tools I use when I was teaching on a master's course at a college. I used an OMS bot as a basis for a Moodle we used for almost everything, for giving assignments, keeping track of students, uploading materials, and so on and so on. In the classroom, email, obviously, WhatsApp, Padlet I use for notice board things, sharing. What were your other questions? Situation, I'm retired, but doing quite a lot of teacher training and doing some writing and editing for Cambridge. What was your other question?
Let's see, you're with your students or trainees, maybe? What kind of relationship you have?
Not really trainees. I work mainly with experienced teachers in
Right.
service, sort of doing stuff, or with we have here in Israel, we have teacher communities.
So
groups
so
of
they're
teachers that get
adult,
together, meet
they're
online,
adult
so I give talks
professionals?
there. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. And they're
Okay,
fairly
that's
capable with
fine.
technology themselves, right?
Yeah, probably more than I am. I learn a lot from them, but
Thus
we
you're
learn
here.
together.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Who's next? Catherine.
Hello. Okay, so first for tools, again, Padlet. I think a lot of seems to be a common tool here. I use iDocio as an app that for my gradebook, my digital gradebook. I used to use Flipgrid, Flip a lot for videos, but they updated in December and the love is gone with them. It's yeah. I use Quizlet, WordWall. Penny mentioned in her intro about things that are just like flashy and cool, and yeah, I feel there are definitely some aspects of WordWall that like, what is the point of this? If it's Line is I'm in Japan, and Line is, I think, like the Japanese version of WhatsApp that I use to push links out to my students. LMS, there's Moodle. I'm at 3 different universities. Each place has its own system. like I think who Sarah mentioned, I just ignore the ones that are not very robust and user friendly, but I do use Moodle. System restrictions. I work at a private junior high school as well, and they are just recently getting Wi-Fi, and yeah, I wouldn't say so much restrictions, just lack of whatever
Infrastructure,
resources and
yeah,
things there.
yeah.
And yeah, social. Yeah, I'm generally much older than my students. I think of I think of them as some of them, I have two children and my oldest daughter is a first year. She's finishing up her first year university. So I felt like the first year university students this year, I felt, wow, they're like all my
Your
kids.
right?
They're all my kids. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Maria.
Yeah. Hello to everyone. And Miss I would like to tell you that I'm so thrilled to know that you are on the course, because I learned about you and your practices back in 2006 when I was on a course for teacher training. And our trainer mentioned you, that is from British Council Ukraine. And this morning I read that you're on the course. I was so thrilled, so happy to see you here. Thank you so much. So as to my practices, I've been teaching for 38 years at a secondary state schools. Mostly, no, I'm not familiar with the young learners, just secondary school, middle school and high school. In 2018, I was on the course with ITDI and I learned to work on Zoom. And back then I thought, no, that would never happen with me, to me. I would never work as a teacher online. But here we are, learning because of different circumstances that go on in the world and are going on in the world. And have been using Zoom a lot. This is the platform that maybe it's not a platform, system or app that has been chosen as for my school. So we use Zoom for teaching online. And I use Zoom as well for after school activities with my students or tutor using Zoom. In addition, I find handy Google Classroom. And the way I keep in touch and give students additional tasks or share information about something I find out online is Viber. It's like WhatsApp, but I use Viber. And I find it very, very, very useful. So the students can write you away, ask you a question, and I answer. As well as Sarah, I have understood that teacher-centered for practice, it's the way in one end. That's why student-centered is you understand that you learn from them. And if you ask them to initiate the topic, sometimes they don't know what they want, by the way. I find out about this every time I tell them. But if you initiate that for them to come up with something, they do think about something. And this is the way to learn and be up to date, what's going on in the world of the teenagers. So and this is
Does the school discourage or encourage use of technology in the classroom?
It does. But we don't have, we have multi-boards, but they are not enough for every classroom. Okay. And I love working with the modern technologies, but I have been learning, I'm not very good at using this technology. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see, we only have a couple people left, 2, 3. Who wants to go next? Shall we go alphabetical? Andrea?
And I've got some things updating in my computer.
Oh,
Hi, I'm
okay.
Andrea. I'm based in Romania. I teach English, German, and Romanian as a foreign language. I work in a private language school. I'd like to think that I'm quite techie. We introduced blended learning and gamification in 2015, I think. We've been using an LMS since then. I'm familiar with Moodle, Schoology, proficient in Canvas. I work with a lot of tools, like, I don't know, the one for quizzing, also video quizzes, design like Canva, and yeah, many tools. But in the light of what's happening now, I don't know how useful that is anymore. Anyway, moving forward, I like to think that I'm more of a facilitator than a teacher. It doesn't matter. I teach young learners, I teach adults, I teach complete beginners and advanced levels. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Carrie, going alphabetically.
Okay, so I work work exclusively online. I work for a platform called Preply, which is a marketplace which matches students and tutors.
Oh.
And I write curriculum for them. I also give some lessons. So my teaching practice at the moment, I've been teaching for 20 years face-to-face, but now recently I've moved on to online. As I don't know who said at the beginning, somebody said the world is, I think it was Maria, the world is changing and we have to get on with it. So what I want to do, the reason for me being in that company is I want to make sure that the practices that they use are pedagogically sound, because a lot of these apps get developed, or these platforms get developed without anybody with any pedagogical sense behind them. So I'm fighting the educational corner. In terms of tools, I use our platform. It's a bespoke platform that's available for our students and tutors. We're a global platform, so we have tutors and students all over the world. We've got hundreds and thousands of tutors and students. Some of them use our platform, which has got a video platform and an integrated learning management system. And some people then also can do their classes on Zoom or Google Meets or whatever they like. What else? I do give some classes, but most of the contact that I have with people is probably tutor training, how to use the platform, and how to teach in general. But we do have a separate training department, so I'm helping rather than running that.
Great.
The tools that I'm super interested at the moment about how we can integrate, and Sarah said something interesting, that was, how do you keep people on your platform if you're using external tools? And some of the tools that we use are plugins, like we have a whiteboard that is a plugin that keeps people on the platform. But I'm super interested at the moment at the Chat GPT. I'm sure we're all playing with that at the moment, and how we can utilize that most effectively to get our tutors and teachers to give effective lessons. It's an interesting, and any other tools, I'm interested in how we can integrate those classes into our classes and train our tutors and teachers and our students how to use them, and how we can, I don't know, what kind of tasks we should be setting, and how we can assess what part we should be assessing.
Great. Thank you. Wow. So we have an incredible variety here of different people, and this is really good for everyone. Hugh, you're last.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I am also based in Japan. I'm down in Kyushu, and I see that my self-introduction post finally made it up onto the forum. It didn't go up and I posted twice, and I hope I haven't mucked things up too much. Anyway, lots of tools: Moodle, Zengango, English Central, LexTutor as a vocabulary and sort of my special tool for students in my literature courses. I mostly teach in Japanese university settings. I was full-time at Miyazaki Municipal University, which is a quite small public city university. Its claim when we opened about 30 years ago was that we were going to be liberal arts, and it seems to me like the neoliberal disease has fully consumed the administration and many of the faculty, and the liberal arts focus seems a little weak to me. I am primarily a American literature history person by training, though by experience, I've been in the second language teaching game for long time, 40 years or so. Let's see, systems. So I also teach at the National University here in Miyazaki Prefecture, and I'm retired now for 7 years, but I'm teaching more than ever, especially this last semester. The realities of being a part-time or adjunct professor in the current circumstances are crazy. Too many classes, too many large classes, very little institutional support, some requirements for using the platform at Miyadai to communicate with students and post assignments and such, but also very flexible. I can do pretty much anything that I want, as long as it is workable with the various cohorts of students that I'm working with. And social, well, Miyadai is a national university focusing mostly on sciences, a little bit education. There's also a linked medical university there. And the MMU, the municipal university, is mostly focused, of course, on trying to get students jobs. And many students, of course, want to go out of our rural city to the big cities. Some are successful in doing so. Some want to stay here. And yeah, most of my students now could be my grandchildren, although they're just a little bit younger than my kids. My kids are 30, 33, and 36, going on 37. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I've lived in this city for 40 years. So sometimes I know my kids' parents, or Miyazaki is a fairly small city. So you run into people downtown all the time. And so in that sense, I'm just an old local now.
Thank you. Thank you. And just for me to say, I'm a lot like Hugh. We met many years ago, and I'm very similar in his situation. Recently retired from teaching, so like Penny as well, doing a lot of part-time like Maria, and so there's quite a bit of commonality there between us. And but I really am happy to see a lot of different people here. So it will enrich the course, I think. Any questions for anybody else before we get on to some of the content of the course? Okay, let's go on. So I would like to introduce a kind of a format here. It's called film, and I originally used it for vocabulary acquisition, and it's just a process of 4 steps where you find something and then investigate it. Usually a word here for vocabulary, and then you actually learn it, and then finally you maintain the memory and do that. But I've applied that now to language, so to tech acquisition. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see, and there we go. This one, and let's go on to the next one. So it's similar to VEC. I think there's so much information coming at us that we really need a system to process and manage all this new technology. And so I've set up these steps and tools to really deal with that. So this is a kind of a theoretical aspect. Again, find any kind of new tech on the horizon, then you investigate it, which means to review it and see whether it's really worth learning. And I would say probably about 90% of the new tech on the horizon is really not worth learning. And that's when you how do you say it? You leave all of that behind. And then the that you do want to learn, then you can adopt and adapt and use that. And then finally, once you get that, you can measure and sunset that. A little bit more, let's see. Find, we'll go through each of those, finding good sources. I call it information grazing. It's kind of like browsing, but it's more like a cow where you just kind of go along and pull up the grass and eat that, and you revisit sources regularly. Now, there's two really good tools for that. Twitter is a very common one, but I really don't think Twitter is a good tool for that anymore. And RSS. God, can I ask people, how many people know what RSS is?
Yeah, I do.
Just one. Okay, good
I
to
don't.
know. Good. That's good. Yeah, this is a good thing. And so I'm going to skip over this. This is all about RSS, and I'm going to explain that a little bit later. But I do want to investigate is the next step. And that basically is to check out any kind of new tech and evaluate it, find out what does it do, what doesn't it do, and what do the reviewers you check out reviews, and is it worth my time to learn? That's when you decide that tech. And so most technology doesn't make it past this barrier, but the ones that do, you actually learn and sit down and try it out. You maybe try a tutorial, you look it up on YouTube, and then you actually prototype it, maybe with students or without, or with other teachers or things like that, and get it. And then you finally deploy it in a non-important way, something, with a extra credit activity, so that if it doesn't work very well, then you're not caught out. And you get feedback, and then finally you decide if you want to use it in class for something important. Then maintain, once you got that, and are maintaining that, basically is you manage it, keep it updated, look for problems with privacy and security. And a big one is streamline the use. So once you start using this new tool, then make it easier to use for both students and yourself, so you can save time. And fail gracefully is a programming term. That means when it starts to have a mistake, it doesn't really cause big problems, only small problems. So that ends up with, so that's film there. Where's my FILM? So that's the kind of the overall framework that I like to do. Let me look, let's see. And I have a matrix here that I do want to show you, and I'll post this. And this is for the 8 weeks and the film section. So we have 2 weeks of find, 2 weeks of investigate, 2 weeks of learn, and 2 weeks of maintain. Now, each one of those weeks, we have a different technology that we'll use. This first one is RSS this week. Next week, we'll talk about note-taking, and then we'll do some 100 tools, and then we'll look at some review criteria. We'll look at translation software, writing, and then the last 2 weeks, we'll do ChatGPT. And this is a revision from, I had last summer, I had a whole system set out, but then in November, ChatGPT came along, and I think it's I could do a whole session, the whole 8 weeks on ChatGPT, I think. But I want to basically at the end of the class this week, I just want to find out what you are interested in learning. If you want to do more ChatGPT, there is one session in the middle. I do want to, let me go back here and share again. This session, the tech here, has about 3 different important tools that were advertised in the course that we'd look at. And I've kind of compressed them into 1 week. Before they had like 1 week each, but I've compressed those. And if those look important for you, please let me know and I can, expand those and try to work on trying to fit everything in there. Again, there's way too much stuff. There is a task each week that I'll ask you to do that's in that matrix, and I'll post that up there after the class. Any questions? Looks pretty straightforward. Okay, RSS. Let me go back to that. Let's see, Chutamonte, just a second. Where is that? Okay, let's see. Just a second. One more again. There we go. Good. So RSS is a kind of a software that aggregates or collects different places, and it was developed during blogs in the early 2000s, and it's an old technology, but one I kind of liken to Facebook, but without the algorithms. Facebook brings a lot of people information to you very easily, and RSS does the same thing with blog posts and collects all of those in one place. It makes it easy to read. And so you have complete control over that, not like in Facebook that has the algorithms. There's no algorithm. So you have to maintain it a little bit better, but you can really get good sources of information, and it's all together and it's easily available. It's on your browser, and it collects all of these articles from people that you are interested in. And if somebody posts a blog post, it puts it in, and you can read it right away, or you can leave it and you can read parts of it, curate news sources, and do that. So an RSS reader is the software that uses that. And there's two that I would recommend. Google Reader used to have one, but they closed it down, and I think it was because it was too effective. It was working against their search business. So the best of 2023 is InnoReader. That's the one I use, and according to an article, there's another set for Macintosh. So if you use Apple software, you might want to try something else. But the two big ones are InnoReader and Feedly. And let me show you actually what InnoReader looks like. If I just go to InnoReader.com. Now this is my instance, and I'm going to log in here. Just a second here. Sign in. Now, over the years, I've kind of curated all these. I have 436 articles over here in total, and I've put them into different categories like editorial stuff and tech news. And let's say, for example, one feed. This is a guy that posts
Vivian,
3 or 4.
We're looking at the presentation now, not at the feed.
Sorry.
You need to switch.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can hear you talking about it as if we can see it.
Right. Yes. Okay. Too many windows open here. I switched over, and let me share again from the other window. There we go. So again, I thank you. So InnoReader comes with and these editorial, for example, I have different feeds and Intercept, for example. These are 14 recent, one day ago. So they post about 10 a day. There's something about Myanmar that about 25 a day. Pluralistic is 3 or 4 a week. So it depends on different paces, but it collects all of these articles. So sometimes if I have a busy week, I wait till the weekend and just kind of catch up. And I'll read through these very quickly. So for example, if I've got fun, Kottke is an interesting guy, I might run through very quickly and look at something like that, and it'll have an article. You can look at it, and then you can actually go to the actual blog post from there if you like. So, and then come back. So, again, it collects all of these ideas. Now, I would, if you, yeah, you could have a choice to get Feedly, which is a little bit simpler to use, InnoReader. But the advantage of InnoReader is I can invite you, and then you would automatically have access to all of these different things that I've curated, things about MOOCs, things about learning, and about ELT and other things already. And so that would kind of populate. If you do it by yourself, you would have to manually go to each of those blogs and sign up for them. If you want to sign up for a new blog, for example, you would search, let's say, for example, Edge of Call. No feeds found. So you can actually .net. No, okay, this is searching in InnoReader. Oh, I see. If I come down here and I want to add a new one, and so I add a new feed, for example, and I put in Edge of Call. .net. Come on, you got to show up. Enter. It's not going to show up. Oh my God. Yes.
Technology is great when it works, but it's terrible when it doesn't.
Say what?
Technology is fantastic when it works, but it's
I
terrible
know,
when
I
it
know.
doesn't.
It's really.
That's why we're here, right?
Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Articles? No. Ah, there we go. Edge of Call. These, no suggestions. Ah. Okay, let's see. If I go to Edge of Call .net, that was kind of like the activity today. Download, install, or for this week was download, install, and then connect up to Edge of Call. And yeah, so I come back to feeds. Let's see, put in. There we go. Finally got it. Yeah, so you copy and paste. So that usually they have posts and then comments. So the posts and then you follow. And there we go. It's added right there to the top, the Edge of Call. Then you can drag it down into Tech News, for example, and put it into categories if you like. Okay. So your task actually this week is to, I can send you an invitation if you send me your email. I don't think I have your email through ITDI. It's a browser based, so you don't have to download anything. You just sign up for InnoReader. And let's see, probably these, we've got about 15 minutes left. Tell you what, let's deal with this after we finish up, and I will see if you can sign up for InnoReader and invite you if you give me your email address in the chat. That's probably the easiest way, because then if I invite you, then you would get all of the feeds that I have, and you could delete all the ones that are not interesting and then start that way. It would be popular and better than starting at zero and trying to add things. So you can do it either way. It's up to you. And if you'd like to try Feedly, which is a little bit easier to use, you can try that as well. Or something else. There are, again, I'll post the slides here about film so that you can, I'll post the slides with links to different readers. There's dozens of RSS readers. It's a very popular kind of software to do that. Okay. And again, I'm seeing 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 email addresses. I'll put those in an invitation. But while I do that, I think what I'd like to do is talk about what you'd like to get out of this course. And we can share with everyone right here. Do you want something that's more theoretical, a little bit hands-off, or do you want something that's very practical and more focused on tools? And we could focus on tools or on systems, I think. And the system about film, I could emphasize that, and we could work more on generalities about how to evaluate software and how to maintain software and things like that. Or we could talk more specifically about how do I get this thing done? You know, how do I use ChatGPT more specifically? And I just would like to get a feeling from the room, you know, what kind of things are you more interested in? And I'll come back and look at this again and then take notes and then rearrange the syllabus. I do have things set up for this week to, I want you to look at an EdTech graduate school syllabus and just look at interesting things in there and bring those back next week. And that's what we'll talk about next week. And those are in the ITDI discussion forums. And I just put that up there for week 1 discussion. Okay. So that's kind of, yeah. So what do you guys want to do with this course this next 8 weeks? Is there anything that you really want to use?
Well, I'll jump in, Kevin.
Okay.
I'm struggling with what seems like my students' COVID hangover, I'm calling it. I found Zoom teaching and the switching back and forth from face-to-face to remote really horrible. And I have lots of classes with 40, 50 students. And of course, you know, especially lower level Japanese university students are struggling with motivation issues and don't want to appear too smart in front of others and all kinds of sort of social psychological issues. And I'm much happier in a face-to-face classroom where I can try to give feedback to students. I've been focused on learner autonomy as my main pedagogical principle for decades. And so I found the whole online thing really tough, but I'm trying to use software that or platforms that can help students with their reading and writing challenges. I mostly teach now so-called speaking and listening courses.
Mhm.
So but I do have some reading and writing courses as well. So one thing I've liked using is Paul Rain's Zengengo platform, which uses some kind of AI backend to give feedback on writing. And
Right.
with the hundreds and hundreds of students that I'm teaching in a semester, sometimes it's impossible to give them as much feedback and support as they need and deserve. There just aren't enough hours in a day. And
I know
I'm
you used
too old,
to,
too old and don't want to die, you know?
right. True.
So I'm trying to figure out ways that I can kind of get back to feeling motivated and engaged and energized for myself and for my students. And if there are appropriate tools that can help me balance face to face with online resources and tools. That's what I'd like to figure out.
Great. I'm getting in the messages, kind of people want either a balance of practical and theoretical, or tending more toward practical.
I think what I'd like is sort of theoretical guidelines illustrated by practical implementation of them. So
Well, yeah,
that's
that's
what I expect is
right.
what you're planning to do anyway.
Right. Yes, exactly. Okay. So I'm, you know, I'm on track here. I just wanted to know if there's anything that I wanted to supplement or not. Great.
Another
We can-
question, Kevin.
Yes.
Looking back at RSS, how on earth do you manage to keep up with it all? There's
How
an
do I
enormous amount
manage?
there's an enormous amount of stuff to keep up with.
Yes, and
Do you
especially
manage
if
to
you're,
read it?
you know, I've been working at this years and years and you know, gradually, but this RSS thing has been really integral to me for being able to keep up, and it doesn't require a lot of time. It does. So after the initial part, when you start reading every article, it sounds like, you know, you get to know the personality of each of the feeds, each of the different blogs that are coming, you know, how quickly to read. So sometimes I might read, I might look at the listing and do maybe read 1 a minute, or maybe 10 a minute, just read titles, and, you know, get up to 50 or 60 a minute, where you just kind of scroll through and, oh, that one's interesting, and oh, that one's interesting. You can even filter for keywords there with that, so you can save. It's just a way to bring all of that together and put it on your computer in one place to make it easier. That's one of the things. There's many others that I can I'll get into a little bit later in the course. We'll use the forums to follow up. So if you have any kind of questions or comments during the week, again, I have your emails, and I'm going to try to put those into invitations for InnoReader, which would send you an invitation, and that would give you so you can sign up easily, and then get my feeds as well. So I'll do that.
So Kevin, one quick question on InnoReader. Would that be like in Firefox or whatever browser you want to use?
Right. Yeah, there's no software to download. I mean, you could download software, but I just use the browser instance
Okay.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Sorry. I used to use NetNewsWire, which is a RSS reader for Macs.
Right. And that's fine. And I can send you a file, and I will post the file. It's called an OPML file. And this is a whole list of feeds. And I've kind of curated it so only the how do you say it? Only the tech and the language learning feeds are in there. And
Oh, that's great.
I could actually put that in right now into the file here. There we go. And so, yeah, if you want to download that, you could manually start InnoReader, and then what's called import, you import the feeds, and that would start it out so that you have a list of good stuff. So even if you get the invitation from me, you don't need the invitation if you use this file here that I put in the chat. And that has to get you started. And again, like you saw me try to sign up for Edge of Call, which was kind of unsuccessful. It's usually much easier if you find an interesting blog that you want to add to your feed, then you just type it in, add the feed, and then you can put it in so that along with the others. And that, curating your RSS feed, dropping off the ones that aren't interesting, getting rid of those and bringing in the new ones that you are interested in, to have one place to kind of refer to. I oftentimes wake up first thing in the morning. There's one feed I always get. It's curated 10 articles about news with funny takes on the news in the morning. And so it becomes a habit after a while, and it saves time. I know starting a new habit is difficult, but try the software out, and we'll be using that so that when I post on edgeofcall.net, it should come to your feed, to your reader, and you'd be able to see that as. Okay, I think you may be a little bit confused, and I think I'm going to stick around a little bit more. And if you have any kind of technical questions, how do I get this reader thing, for example, I'm happy to work with that for a little while extra. But otherwise, I think the official, 1 hour course, if you need to run off and either see Formula One or visit with friends or anything, then please do. You're free to go. I'm going to stop the recording, and maybe should I stop the recording? Yes, I'm going to stop the recording, and so then we can do more informally Q&A and things like that. All right, thank you very much.
I need to
Thank
run. Thank
you.
you. And I unfortunately I know that I am going to miss next week. So, but in terms of like tasks to do, download the RSS and read the curriculum that you're going to send on the forum, right?
Right, and if you go to the ITTI discussion, I put in a forum that's week 1 discussion, and
Okay.
so all of that information is already there.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Nice to meet
Okay.
everybody.
Great.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Dave.